they have the distribution network that surpasses everybody. If they want to get into this industry, they have to make a really big splash to get in. It's hard to get into this industry. You could do it like a McMaster car kind of company. You go to their website and buy a box of this or a box of that, but they're not going to commercially sell you, 200,000 quarter-inch nuts anytime soon. They could do that, but I don't think they're in that area yet.
It's time for Fully Threaded Radio.
It is Fully Threaded Radio, voice of the FCH Sourcing Network. Yes, it's another episode of online on-demand Fastener Talk Radio, everybody. And it is the one and only podcast that is listened by 4 out of 5 fastener distributors who listen to Fastener Talk Radio. Hi, everybody. Eric Dudas here, and I'm joined, as always, by the co-host of Fully Threaded, and that's Brian Musker. Brian, you doing all right?
Yeah, I am. I'm over here in nearly sunny FCH West in Chicago.
Good to hear you. I'm over here in not sunny at all, FCH East.
Okay.
But I'm loving every minute of it. The fastener industry is throwing headlines at us left and right. If you only knew, folks, what went into making today's episode, I think we'd get an immediate pay raise, Bri.
Yeah, we should. You're right. I've been thinking of that for a while.
Yes, we'll touch on that in a few moments. And regardless, it's a outstanding episode and an outstanding time to be listening to Fastener Talk Radio. And this is episode 132 of Fully Threaded Radio. This time we'll be publishing on or about, possibly a little before, September 25th, 2018. We kicked the podcast off today with a conversation with virtual fastener industry outsider, Mr. Dick Ripley. He's been operating at the fringes of the business for a few months now, and during this conversation, he'll let us know what his plans going forward might be. Here's a little hint for you. If you're going to Vegas, you might find out.
And you might meet him.
Don't give away the hint, Bri.
I'm not. Okay, sorry. I'll button my mouth.
We're also going to get a glimpse down into the basement recording studio of Dick Ripley, and we'll be rolling out a little bit of his magic on the episode today. We'll get into all that later. The feature segment on today's episode, another virtual fastener industry outsider, although never really. It's a conversation with Don Shan. It's been a long while since we had Don on the podcast, and boy, what timing for this one. Because as we were going to publish, of course, we were already aware of the tariff story, and we were going to touch on that, but then the Lindstrom and Stelfast news broke. As we record this, it's still fairly fresh, and we don't know a lot of details, but Don did not hold back in his speculation about what this might mean, and certainly you'll want to know that. He's a guy with lots of experience and a lot of fastener know-how to share with us. In the midst of all this, the Fastener Distributor Index stays super strong. RW Baird analyst David Manthey sits in with Mike McNulty on the Fastener News Report. They go over the numbers, and they ask the question, is this as good as it gets?
Yeah. Well, it's been sort of like that for a while, though. It's hard to know which one was as good as it can be.
You know, it's pretty good when people start wondering, how long is this going to last? And I think that's about the point we're at. It's a recurrent theme during the show today.
Yep.
Mike McNulty's got all the headlines for us as well.
So you sure Mike's really, really focused on the industry? I think he might have the TV on, don't you?
We'll get to that as well, Bri. Yes. Yes, there was some news out of Cleveland that has really shocked the world, although, Mike is so focused on fasteners, I think it's really hard to distract him.
Occasionally it happens.
Carmen Vertullo's got the Fastener Training Minute today, folks. He's got a bit of a departure, this time a book recommendation.
He's assuming that, given all the activity in the industry, we've actually got time to sit down and read a book.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. I think he makes the case for this one. Sounds like it's very relevant to the fastener industry experience. That's the Fastener Training Minute with Carmen Vertullo. Stick around through the close of today's show, folks, because during the final segment, Brian and I will play DJ as we roll out the aforementioned mellifluous tones of Dick Ripley. I guess we'll be debuting it, and who knows, Brian, maybe Dick's song will turn out to be a fastener industry anthem of some kind.
Okay. Right.
Way to build suspense, huh?
Yeah, it is.
So it's going to be a jam-packed show, and we're jam-packed with outstanding sponsors. Bri, please let everyone know who they are.
Yes, we are lucky. We have great sponsors, and they're companies we've all got to know really, really well. The title sponsor of Fully Threaded Radio is Stillfast. Stillfast, for service you deserve and people you trust. Also sponsoring Fully Threaded Radio are Buckeye Fasteners, BTM Manufacturing, International Fastener Expo, InSequel Software, ND Industries, Parker Fasteners, Volt Industrial Plastics, The Worth Group, and Solution Industries, home of Solution Man.
Thank you one and all for your sponsorship, and thank you, dear listeners, for being out there.
Yeah.
We'd be very glad to hear what you think about the podcast, or if you have observations on the industry, reactions to our segments, or ideas for future segments. The email address is ftr@fullythreaded.com, and we also hang out on Twitter, where usually the tone is slightly more obnoxious, sometimes more newsworthy and timely. Regardless, the handle there is Fully Threaded. We'll look for you.
Yeah.
One thing I'd like to point out, Bri, before we get to a couple of sponsor messages, we had a little difficulty this time with both of our featured guests in terms of the quality of their phone connections. And it's amazing. Here it is 2018 and we're still going through stuff like this, but I think they cleaned up pretty well, but they're not as good as I'd like. And I think that we did a pretty good job of cleaning them up, and they're listenable. And certainly the content is really, really well worth it. But I want to say in advance that we're going to have to do a little bit better job in the future of, I guess, pre-framing these things, because I prefer to have a little bit better quality. Anyway, there it is. Just wanted to put that out there.
Well, since most of these communications are really over the web, things can go wrong. You watching TV and suddenly it slows down and goes into, fragments. And even this morning, the whole web slowed down. You couldn't get to, a lot of websites without it just clocking and clocking. So everything's a bit unpredictable, okay? If we had, maybe we go back to copper lines and then we can not have these interferences.
You're so retro, Bri.
I know, none of our phones would work. Would be terrible, okay? I would hate that world. I lived in it.
I hear what you're saying. I understand the sentiment. Anyway.
Technology doesn't always work the way we want it to.
No, we're boldly charging forward. And before we boldly continue charging with this episode, folks, I've got a message from our buddies over there at BTM Manufacturing. Jake and his team wanted to let you know, as the summer's winding down, BTM Manufacturing is gearing up for the International Fastener Expo at Mandalay Bay. Swing by their booth at 3459 for a cup of U-Blend Bolt coffee and meet the BTM team. From anchor bolts to studs and U-bolts, BTM ensures your preprint special is manufactured with the highest quality standards and meets your on-time delivery schedule. BTM, they're committed to providing exceptional service each and every time. Get out to their website at btm-mfg.com.
So they don't have to put a U-bolt in each cup of coffee to call it U-bolt coffee, do they? Not like, isn't like Rusty Bolt, is it?
Oh, gosh, yeah. That was really how old Rusty Bolt started, right? That was the idea, at least, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Traveling salesman said there's an old Rusty Bolt added to each bottle for flavor or something like that.
Yeah, that was the early days.
Who needs beechwood aging when you have various threaded products to put in your beverages, right?
Right. So don't swallow the dregs of the coffee in one hit. Just be prepared to chew for a bit of an old bolt in there, okay?
Get out to CPTM at booth 3459 for a cup of your U-Bolt blend, everybody. And Bright, you go grab a cup of bean too while we take a little break. What do you think?
I will. Yeah, I need it, okay?
We'll talk to you in a minute, everybody. It's fully threaded.
2 men, 1 server, a fastener dog, and a stunning lack of more lucrative alternatives. It's fully threaded radio.
When top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stellfast. Since 1976, Stellfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001-2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stellfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stellfast today through our website at www.stellfast.com and put us to work for you. Stellfast. Service you deserve, people you trust.
Since 1905, Buckeye Fasteners and the Ohio Nut and Bolt Company have been supplying the world with high-quality fasteners. Our standard product lines include weld fasteners, braided weld screws, leg levelers, self-clinching hardware, clevis pins, rivet nuts, and various other fastener lines, allowing us to support virtually all types of industries. We have complete custom manufacturing capabilities in low carbon, medium carbon, and stainless steel materials, and our quality systems are registered to ISO standards. Our on-staff engineering department can assist you with product development and provide total technical support. Our knowledgeable sales team members offer superior customer service and are here to answer any questions you may have regarding our products. Having a hard time finding a part? Let our sourcing specialists do the work for you to locate those items. We offer competitive pricing with typically smaller minimums and shorter lead times. To find out more about Buckeye Fasteners, please call us at 800-437-1689 or on the web at buckeyefasteners.com. Buckeye Fasteners, more than just weld.
It's that time again. The largest event of the year in the fastener industry is almost here, the International Fastener Expo. The show will take place October 30th through November 1st at the Mandalay Bay Convention Center in Las Vegas. For new and returning attendees alike, we're excited to announce new additions to the show this year. These include a brand new preview day, daily meetings, free educational sessions, and the highly anticipated award ceremony recognizing leaders in the fastener industry. The legendary welcome reception is bigger than ever and being held this year at the Daylight Pool at the Mandalay Bay Resort. If you haven't yet attended the Fastener Show, this is the year to make the trip. It's an exciting time in the fastener industry, and this year's event will be the largest yet. You simply can't afford to miss this year's show. The expo features over 800 suppliers from across the country and worldwide. The International Fastener Expo takes place October 30th through November 1st in Las Vegas. For full details and to register, go to www.fastenershows.com. See you at the show.
In this economy, I need to cut cost and freight, or I'll lose my customer.
Solution Man, Ken. The more you order, the more you'll save. With free freight on orders over $1,000. See the Solution Industries website for details at solutionIND.com.
Solution Man, you're my fastener hero.
Just doing my job, ma'am.
Hi, this is Lisa Kleinhandler from Fastener News Desk at FastenerNewsDesk.com, where we bring you all things fascinating. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio with Eric and Brian.
What were we talking about again, Bri?
Oh, I don't know. It's got to be something about fasteners.
Oh, yeah. The industrial fastener industry, right.
Yeah.
I tell you, folks, sometimes we get so distracted around here with all of the the recursive problems, let me call them, problems on top of problems. We forget even what the whole point of this thing is, but of course it is fasteners. That's why we're all congregated here together. If you only knew what went into putting this podcast together today, right, Bri?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you think you even haven't touched technical difficulties, okay?
Yeah, well, and in addition to a few sundry technical difficulties here and there with the tools that we use to put the thing together, it was also a case of rescheduling because we had one thing set up in our minds and what we were going to do, and then, of course, we had some headlines. First, the tariff news came out. That was big. Everyone was buzzing about it. And then, of course, as we were in the midst of it, the big Lindstrom and Stelfast announcement seemed like it was going to be pending, so that was swirling around. So anyway, now you and Lynn ran off on a field trip one day, and you went to something that was called, what, the Design Institute, and we were going to be talking about that on today's episode. What was all that about? Because we're definitely going to have to not fail to use that information, I guess, in a subsequent episode. What was that?
Well, we actually went on two separate trips, okay? First trip was to the old Joliet prison. Now, I'm not going to talk about that one, okay? This is the prison. This was the one used in the Blues Brothers movie, okay? But what we went to was a place called the UI Labs, okay? And the UI doesn't stand for user interface. It stands for University plus Industry. And it's one of these government, private conglomerates set up really a few years ago to foster advanced manufacturing or to advance manufacturing in the US. Now, about 5 years ago, we went to another one of these over in Youngstown, and it was called America Makes, but it was really called NAMII.
The 3D.
Yeah, National Additive Manufacturing something, Innovation Institute. Well, this is another one. This is the Digital Manufacturing and Design Innovation Institute, and it's right here in Chicago. It's in Goose Island, and if any one of you listening is even faintly interested in manufacturing anything, this place is worth a visit. Every month they have an open day, and you go in there and they'll give you glass of wine or something, but basically you get taken around the various projects with usually someone really, really knowledgeable. And we were taken around by a guy called Tony Del Sesto, who's the Director of Manufacturing Research and Development. And he just showed us some of the projects they have underway. And they are as varied as one from Arizona State University, which is involved in using recognition devices, be they scanning devices or cameras, to try and determine the properties of a fastener, of all things, to work out, would it fit, is it within the parameters of the, defined for whatever this is. It could be anything, actually. So they can do it electronically versus having to pick it up and put it through a gauge to measure it, okay? So that's only one. There's another one that's put in by Black & Decker, which is to show you how to use really simple equipment to control steps on a production line. The production line was assembling a Black & Decker battery-powered hand drill, and it uses things as simple as a Xbox to recognize movement, okay, rather than all these fancy things. Hey, we can use one of these, $100 piece of equipment.
Are you saying now that some of the 37-year-old denizens of people's parents' basements now may have a transferable skill set?
Well, if they can find the right manufacturing place, the answer is probably yes.
Wow.
So was another one we went to, had a look at. It was by a company called Step Tools in Vanderbilt University. And that was trying to deal with programming CNC lathes, but starting with a 3D model and transferring the data to the CNC machine and changing what they're making. And it was pretty cool. Rolls-Royce had a virtual reality demo set up that was showing how you could use virtual reality to train people to maintain a jet engine, okay? So they could just do everything, and it was as if they were touching the jet engine. It was really amazing. It was amazing to see. Plus they had all the other things, 3D printing and all that other stuff, but the aim of it really was to show that you can get digital help with your manufacturing process, but you don't have to spend a fortune in order to do it.
Well, you were telling me that their target audience for a lot of this is small and mid-sized business, right, who is responsible for a huge portion of manufacturing in this country.
Right. Well, there are some, big companies are deeply involved in this, and one of the sponsors is ITW, actually. But the guy is Tony Del Sesto. He's been involved in manufacturing in the US and something like 14 other countries for nearly 40 years in many different companies. He's got huge experience in the practical problems of manufacturing. And he said, he had a question when we first went into this whole area. He said, I just want to ask you, how big do you think the ordinary manufacturing company is in America? And everyone, had their ideas. And he said, well, in reality, more than 90% of all the manufacturing in the US is done by companies with less than 20 employees. And it might be 30, but it's in that order. The massive proportion of manufacturing is little companies. And he said, little companies can't afford to put in $1 million pieces of equipment. So what we have to find is cost-effective ways that small companies can use this technology.
Wow. Yeah, that's a bigger number than I was even thinking. That's incredible. Well, I'll tell you what, once again, this is something that we wanted to talk extensively about on today's episode, but we're going to put it off, and you've got to get with Tony, and we'll put more information about this Design Institute on the show, and I think people will get a lot out of that. But as we were saying, there was so much about the tariffs and other things swirling around that here we are. I did shoot off a question to Harry Mosier. A lot of folks remember him from the Reshoring Initiative. I wanted to get his take on the tariff situation, so I just asked him a quick question. Here's part of his response for your information and further edification on the subject of tariffs, folks. This is Harry Mosier speaking. He said, President Trump's trade policy has the correct objective but the wrong methods, tariffs. Eliminating the goods trade deficit of $700+ billion a year would increase U.S. manufacturing by 40%. The barrier is the price gap with offshore prices typically 30% below U.S. prices. The correct method to eliminate that gap is some combination of a German-style skilled workforce, lower U.S. dollar, and a value-added tax, otherwise known as the VAT. This is Harry speaking again. The current lower corporate tax rates and regulations were a good start. What do you think of that, Bri?
I'm not that happy with the VAT business, value-added tax, okay. Having lived through some countries and worked in them that use VAT, to my mind it's just a license to print money for the government and a license for everyone else to lose it.
Yeah, that's generally the idea. Taxes seem to be everywhere you look. I mean, a lot of people, as you know, characterize tariffs as just another form of taxation, which is true. We'll have to get him on the podcast also and pick his brain a little further on that. I mean, he's really a smart guy, and he thinks the way he does for a reason. But I tend to think like you, Brian. I mean, the scary thing to me about the VAT is that it seems like a recursive tax because the same item is taxed over and over versus in a lot of wholesale situations, sales taxes are waived because it's going down a pipeline.
Right. Look, any country that's ever put in place a value-added tax, it's just been just a total windfall for the government, okay? I mean, New Zealand put one in and Australia put one in and the government didn't know what to do with all its money. Now, that came from somewhere, this poor bloody public. That's not the right way, okay? However, he's correct, and, the aim is right, and tariffs, I mean, already they're so bloody complicated, it's just like a giant bloody mess.
Well, I'm sure everybody will be discussing this in a couple of weeks when we all meet up in Vegas for the big annual Las Vegas Fastener Show, these days known as IFE, the International Fastener Expo. Thought we'd run down the list of our friends and sponsors who will be exhibiting there as a service to our listeners and sponsors. Starting out that list, of course, it's Buckeye Fasteners in booth 2716. I'm fairly sure, although I haven't got the official confirmation, but I'd be surprised if they weren't serving up the old rusty bolt beer again this year, Bry.
Go off and pay a visit to Larry, pretend I'm looking at his supply of weld nuts and things like that, and really I'm looking for a beer.
He's onto you, Bry.
I know.
Now, that'll be in the afternoon, of course, because in the morning, as we noted previously in the podcast, BTM Manufacturing will be in booth 3459. They're featuring their U-Bolt blend coffee. So it's beverages galore on the floor of the Vegas show. It just depends on what your proclivities lead you to. But BTM, booth 3459.
So do they stick a U-bolt in the coffee? I mean, it's not the same as rusty bolt, is it?
I guess you'll find out, really. Maybe for you, yeah. Who knows?
Drink with care. Don't swallow too deep.
I'm sure they'll have a few available. If not, ask Jake. He'll set you up, Bray.
Okay. The coffee sounds pretty good, I have to say. The idea of getting a decent cup of coffee is very attractive, especially in the morning.
You got that right. Always welcome in Vegas. Well, of course, the big news about Stelfast, and what color is the Stelfast monkey this year? Since you were down on Twitter, Bry, I put a little note out there when news first broke, kind of a cryptic message to all my friends who got the advanced notice of this, but I was pointing out that, gee, I'm really curious about the color of the Stelfast monkey this year, wink, wink, and and of course a couple of people chimed in right off the bat and they said, oh, gee, wouldn't that be something if it was green?
Yeah, I know exactly what I would have thought too.
Well, you won't have to be in suspense for much longer, everybody, because get out to booth 3123. There you'll find the Stelfast booth and presumably this year's edition of the Stelfast monkey.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. Solution Industries will be in booth 2717, and I've got a hint out of the Solution camp that there's actually going to be a new superhero who makes their home at Solution Industries. Don't have anything beyond that. It's possible. Details will be forthcoming in booth 2717.
Wow. Can we have too many superheroes?
We answer no, not in this industry.
Oh, okay. Right.
we need them.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, we need them. Parker Fasteners, our newest sponsor, they'll be in booth 3339. Last year, they were demoing some of their 3D printing capabilities, and they're doing quite a bit on that front, Bri, with prototyping and some form and function type stuff. Look for that again this year.
Actually, they were just getting into something that hopefully they've got running and they can show us, which was sort of metallized plastic. Now, metallized, then the thread was not just usual Teflon or something, but it was some metallized thing that would form a much harder 3D model. So hopefully they can show us that.
Well, find out booth 3339, Parker Fasteners.
Okay.
Our friends at InSequel Software, now they're usually good for a Bud Light or a Miller Lite, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
Bob Reynolds has been no slouch when it's come to free beer for the industry over the years, and InSequel will be found at 3115 this year. We're trying to be helpful, everyone, because as you know, we're returning to Mandalay Bay, and so there's no real set layout for the industry anymore. It used to be year after year, you kind of knew your way around, but 3115, that's InSequel Software. If you want to say hi to Mike McNulty at Fastener Technology, Tom will be out there too. Get out to booth 2736. My suggestion would be just mob Mike with autograph requests this year, everyone. There will be ample stacks of Fastener Technology International magazine on his table, I'm sure. Bring a pen. Just have him sign one for you,
Yeah, you'll be able to recognize him easily. We're wearing a brown shirt, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, he's got Cleveland Browns on his heart, that's for sure. We'll talk about that next segment. Anyway, rounding out this list of who's where, be sure to stop by booth 2858 to see Brian and myself. That's FCH Sourcing Network. The lovely and talented Lynn Dempsey will be joining us, and we'll have our fully threaded radio microphones hot. So if you want to jump in on the podcast, every year we always do a Vegas show review. So hop in with us on that.
Yeah, feel free to stop by. Tell us things that we can do better for you, or things we're already doing great, which we would like to hear about too. And we look forward to seeing you. We always do.
Yes, the FCH Sourcing Network is a rather important topic in our existence, so we'll be glad to discuss it with you. This year, we're going to be talking about our preferred search result placement program. Now, we had a launch of that last year. We're doing a reboot this year because we revamped it, made it a little easier to understand. It's basically a system that allows you to get your company's fastener listings at the top of search results on FCH. Every day, hundreds and hundreds of searches go through, and this is your chance to get at the very top of those results for the fastener commodity types that make sense for your business. Again, it's the Preferred Search Result Placement Program. It's affordable, it's smart, and we'll tell you all about it at the show. And if you're not going to be at the show and this has perked your interest, please get with us through one of the many channels. We'd be happy to talk to you about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you think that what you specialize in is set screws or something like that, and you want to make sure that when someone searches for set screws, your listings come at the very top in a separate section. You can't get more exposure than that.
There's a few of them that are active out there right now. Get out to fastenersclearinghouse.com and have a look. You can be one of them. Hey, finally, if you haven't gotten your application in for the Fastener Training Institute FCH Scholarship Award, that's the 5th annual, we're going to be making the announcement of the winners this year during the Vegas Fastener Show. The deadline's at the end of September, so you still have a little bit of time. Get that in.
Yeah, set to typing quickly, okay?
You got it. Well, Dick Ripley is coming up now, and he's got something to say about the Vegas show, so maybe we should get with that, Brian. What do you think?
Or not, actually.
Well, if you've been in the fastener industry for any amount of time, or if you've been a fully threaded listener, then you know that Dick Ripley has been a fixture, and he's joining us now. I just found out that he'll be with us in Vegas at this year's International Fastener Expo. That was great news. Dick, you have a lot of fans in this industry. You've been out for a little while. Thanks for joining us on the podcast, and welcome back.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, Eric. Is Brian lurking in the bathroom? Are you doing in the background? Or are you doing this solo?
Well, he's always, I guess, lurking. But yeah, he's not going to be on the recording. But he's got a scrubber issue or a fastener dog issue, and he will definitely look forward to seeing you in Vegas.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to reconnecting with my customer friends as well as industry friends. So again, looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's been a while, but not too long. So just to get it out of the way, since people are definitely curious, you had your recent position came to an end, and a lot of people thought that you were entering retirement. But as you told me a minute ago, that's not where you are.
Well, I have retired from my prior position, the prior company that I was with, and decided to take approximately a year off and do some home improvements, work in my recording studio, the usual thing, did some travel, play some golf. But my intention is to go to Las Vegas and reconnect with, friends and customers. And after the holidays, around the first of the year, probably re-entering the marketplace again.
Well, that's good to know. Now, we talked before we turned the recorder on, and we have said that we really want to not dwell too much on your just former position, but just for the benefit of people who have not met you before, and this would probably be only the very young fastener professionals in the audience, please give us a quick rundown of your CV.
Sure. Well, I've been in the industry around 40 years. At the VP level in 1993, I was Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Assembly Component Systems. At the time, it was Sun Inventory Management. Spent about 10 years there, and then took a job with Lake Erie, the manufacturer. and did that for 6 years, and then spent around 6 years with Bright and Best right after they were acquired by Robert, and spent 6 years there, and then recently spent 3+ years at Lindstrom as their vice president of sales. So a diverse background in fasteners.
Yeah, you've seen a lot, that's for sure. Again, listeners who are interested can go back in the archives, and Dick's made a couple of appearances on the podcast, shared his insights. So as we enter into the close of 2018, it's been gangbusters. I know you do follow the FDI, and we'll talk more in Vegas, that's for sure. But you were mentioning to me that you'd heard on our last podcast episode, we were discussing at the end there kind of something that shocked a lot of people, and that was the attrition rate of our younger fastener professional audience from the industry. And you had some ideas about that.
Well, first of all, the stat that you quoted is pretty profound. That means there's a lot of churn, a lot of turnover with millennials in the industry. And as a baby boomer, our first inclination is to say, well, they ought to appreciate the job they have and just stick their nose to the grindstone. But in hindsight and looking at what's going on, particularly in the fastener industry, I mean, I think we've got to really take that to heart and say, are we engaging these young guys in the business, giving them some well-defined upward paths, giving them the strategy of the company and where it's going, giving them the flexibility they need for the work-life balance, and really the technology. I think there's a tendency in fastener distribution and in manufacturing to stick with the technology you've had for years and years. And, of course, there's a couple of shining examples of people that haven't in master distribution and VMI and the expediter segment as well that have really embraced technology and gone the other way on the redundancy of paths and repetitiveness of, the phone calls and things like that. I think fastener professionals have to really look at that, owners, and say, hey, how do we make this an attractive industry for these young people? Otherwise, we're 5-10 years down the road, we're not going to have anyone to help support the businesses.
Yeah, I think that's very true. And I also think, and Brian and I share this always after we have one of these conversations with a guest on the podcast or otherwise, we kind of shrug our shoulders and say, we really sound like we're giving these guys a harsh treatment, these millennials, and never really feeling that positive about it. And you can't fault anybody for searching out the best deal that they can find, right, Dick? I mean,
right, absolutely.
If you're gonna find something that's more interesting or something that's more lucrative elsewhere, that's where you're gonna go, and that's what we see. Now, with this technology deficiency, which I think a lot of people acknowledge, and it's not every company, but it's many companies. Do you, as you're cruising into probably one of your final positions in this industry, do you think that you're gonna be advising wherever you wind up in a certain direction, technology-wise? I mean, what's your vision for that?
I think that, and you're right. There's going to be naturally it's going to be turnover. People, going for money in different positions, and maybe latitude of hours or where they work from and things like that. And I understand that. I've done that myself. But I think, I would advise any company that unless you have a firm grasp on the technology and a good operating system and have a presence on the web, business is going to get tough. And there's a tendency to stand pat when you have a good business, and it's a good business until it isn't. And then someone picks you off and they do some things that you were unwilling to do, and it can go downhill rapidly. So I think that you got to make your business as attractive as possible as a workplace. It's got to be interesting. People have to feel challenged, and they also have to feel like they have an upwardly mobile path if they work hard and do a good job. Relatively simple elements, but it's really hard to get those things in place to attract and keep young talent. I just think it's important for the longevity of businesses and the growth of businesses.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to argue with you on that. Do you have any thoughts on the Amazon effect, as we've been calling it, on the fastener industry? I mean, this is related to the technology issue, but I wonder, as you progress towards really one of the final places you'll probably wind up in the industry, do you see that as being something that'll come into play in your vision?
Yeah, well, I don't think a day goes by or 2 days go by that I don't order something from Amazon, and everyone utilizes that platform. But it has its limitations. I mean, it's an online ordering system, and it's hard to speak to anyone about actual applications and properties of fasteners and strengths and things like that. So while I think it's taken some of the lower hanging fruit of people looking for fastener types and home repair, things like that, I don't know how, unless Amazon acquires someone, a big expediter, and really gets into the business and the expertise that's required. I see them scratching the surface, but I don't see them becoming a large player in that until they do an acquisition. My opinion only.
Right. Well, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, do you see any types of companies that would be probable targets for such an acquisition? I mean, do you have any companies, not any specific company that you feel is going to happen, but a company like X?
Well, like a Granger, a McMaster Carr, someone like that. I mean, right now they do a ton of business on the web, and those would both be huge acquisitions, by the way. But I would think that would make sense for someone like Amazon.
Right. Well, we'll see, won't we? I mean, nothing would shock me at this point. You hear cataclysmic news in business all the time, so who knows?
Yeah. And Amazon hasn't called me recently to ask me my opinion on that either, so I'm shocked, by the way.
Yeah. Well, everyone's got ideas about where they're going to wind up. I mean, I was talking with somebody at the world's largest publicly traded fastener company recently and asking them their opinion about all of this, and their reply had something along the lines of they like the idea that Amazon may be adding more touches to the supply chain in certain areas because they feel it makes them more competitive. That was an interesting perspective that I suppose only a real Leviathan in the business could appreciate.
Well, yeah, I think it all comes down to scale, right? Scale and infrastructure and operating system, and the company you're probably speaking of has all that going for them. So, I mean, right now they compete head-to-head, and they also have the benefit of having the history and the expertise behind what they sell. So I think they're ready to take on all competitors.
Yeah, that's right. Well, the Vegas show's coming up in a very short amount of time, so we're going to hang out in person. Before we let you run, I wanted to ask you, though, at the top of our conversation, you mentioned you're hanging out in your recording studio a little bit more. People who might not be aware, you're a bit of a aficionado of the recording art, so to speak, and what have you been working on? What's going on in the idea factory down there in the basement?
Well, I write, I have a 24-track studio, and I record all the instruments myself and write some, I guess you'd call it like classic rock stuff. Certainly not going to become famous or rich from it, but it's really one of those hobbies where I go down in the studio and 12 hours just flies by. So to me, it's just a release valve. I really like doing it. I got a couple of CDs and used to be on a couple of music posts. But I'm finding that the music that is most popular is modern stuff that mine has, it's so divergent from that it's ridiculous for me to post it, but it keeps me happy.
Yeah, well, I could attest to that, Dick, because, I go to a local gym around here and we can control the stereo. I shouldn't say we, I should say they, because by the time I get there, there's always somebody who has their stuff on, and believe me, it's never anything that I would have picked out. And I think vice versa,
Yeah, they won't let you put Leonard Skinner down?
Right, pretty close, yeah. I usually have Allman Brothers in my headphones these days.
Hey, have you heard Blackberry Smoke?
Tell me. No.
They're a great band. They actually sound like a mix between the Black Crowes and the Allman Brothers. You got to get their CDs.
Oh, yeah, I could get into that. I will give it a listen for sure. Well, very cool, Dick. I'm going to look forward to perhaps sharing a couple of brews with you and delving into that part of everything a little bit more when we meet in Las Vegas. Dick Ripley, you are really a fixture in the fastener industry. You're going to be out at IFE in October, and sure to appreciate you joining us on the podcast once again.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Hey, we'll be right back with more Fully Threaded Radio. Hey, you never know what we might hear for bumper music either. ND Industries has been solving customers' toughest problems through innovative technologies, competitive pricing, and industry-leading service since 1955. A family-owned business, ND Industries manufactures and applies fastener locking, bonding, sealing, masking, and assembling products. Their pre-application process makes fasteners ready to use at the point of assembly, resulting in reduced labor costs, time savings, and superior quality assurance. As a fully integrated company, ND handles all aspects of operations from formulating custom chemical compounds and coating fasteners to providing inline inspection, packaging, and delivery services. ND Industries serves the global market with 13 divisions in the continental U.S. and also facilities in Taiwan, China, and Turkey. Learn more about ND Industries at our website at www.ndindustries.com. ND Industries, innovative technologies, competitive pricing, and industry-leading service. Contact ND today.
Harry, now that you use InSequel software, how do you like it?
InSequel has delivered. They truly are written for fastener distributors. It's affordable and their support staff is great.
We found InSequel's support staff has depth. They know our industry, and they certainly know their software. I see they've helped you pronounce InSequel.
Yes, but what does InSequel mean? Is it written in SQL? Is the data stored in SQL? Are they located in SQL?
InSequel uses the industry standard Microsoft SQL database, which is why it's so powerful and easy to use.
Oh, the database is stored in SQL. I don't even know where that is. I hear it's a nice place.
Harry, InSequel uses a SQL database because it's current technology and your data is completely accessible. No more expensive custom reports.
Is that why InSequel is so easy to use? Where is SQL on the map?
One of their many support members will help you answer that. Go to their website, www.inxsql.com, or call toll-free 877-446-9775.
Parker Fasteners is your premier cold heading manufacturer, forging the future with precision and quality as our top priority. When you think of domestically produced sockets and tamper-proof screws from alloy and stainless, including A286, think Parker Fasteners. Our lockout line of security fasteners feature high-torque, oval center pin design, and unique lobes that provide one-of-a-kind security for your customers. Our in-house 3D printing capability makes the prototyping process fast and affordable, and we're ready to produce your large or small run orders with highly competitive pricing and unbeatable lead times. So, forge the future with Parker Fasteners. Visit Parker Fasteners online today at parkerfasteners.com.
This is Frank DeVito from Solution Industries, and you're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric back with you, having more fun than a barrel full of stealth-fast monkeys.
Whatever color they might be.
That's right. We are not sure. There have been some guesses, but
right.
We never know for sure. Till the big day. One of the stories swirling around the industry, of course, is the acquisition or merger, however we're looking at it, between Stelfast and Lindstrom, and of course the tariffs. But here at Fully Threaded Radio, we've also got another big piece of news that I think a lot of people missed because of everything else going on, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, Bri.
Football matches? No. Oh, sorry. I'm in the wrong sport at the moment. Okay.
Yeah.
Preoccupied with thinking about Mike McNulty.
Yes, and who wouldn't be? But for the moment, I'm thinking about the NCFA annual golf outing, and we have the results here. This year's NCFA golf outing chairman was Dave Audia. He with GL Hewitt. He provided me with a little summary of what went down this year and this year's winner. Do you have any guesses, Bri, before I announce it?
I prefer not to guess about golf scores, but top ones have got to involve Rob, I would think.
Right. Well, Team InSequel is always near the top, but this year they were edged out. And they were edged out by Team Beacon Fastener, led by Dennis Clark.
Wow, cool.
Yeah,
okay.
Congratulations, Team Beacon. That group was rounded out by John Snyder, Spencer Scott, and Marshall Brown. They took first by shooting a 15 under par with a round of 57. So, as you guessed, Bri, Team InSequel was near the top. They were in second. Actually, it was Team Buckeye Fasteners, led by Larry Kelly.
Oh, okay, good.
And Rob Reynolds was on there, along with our buddy John Riddell from Solution Industries, and everybody's buddy from Metric and Multi-Standard, Rich Cavoto.
Good.
Yeah, as usual, they were in pretty good form. They just missed first place by 3 strokes. Their round was a 60. And probably everybody's wondering who got the coveted FTR award this year. That usually goes to somebody with a slightly higher score.
And someone who is really wanting to drink Busch Light.
That's right. Yeah, we've had
someone and someone who really wants a fully threaded hat.
Yes, the 30-pack of Busch Light and the fully threaded radio hat comprise the FTR award, and this year that prize went to Team Cable Ties Unlimited. They had a little bit of an off day. Hopefully that prize soothed their wounds a little bit. But all in all, it was another successful event for the NCFA and their scholarship fund. They do good work. Congratulations, Larry Kelly. He's the president of the NCFA. And Dave Audie, again, he was the chairman. The whole board pitched in to make this one a success.
Cool. Okay.
The Fastener News Report's coming up in mere moments, everybody. This time it's sponsored by Volt Industrial Plastics. And, of course, the title sponsor of Fully Threaded Radio is Stelfast. Well, you've alluded to it several times in the lead up to this, Bri, but the Fastener News Report with Mike McNulty's coming up soon, and he's a huge Cleveland Browns fan. The other giant headline, although it's not directly fastener industry related, is that after about a year and a half or something, the Cleveland Browns finally pulled off a victory.
So Mike is really going to be distracted then.
Well, I don't know. He's always focused on fasteners, but yeah, I mean, he's got something, that he's probably thinking about. The reason we're dwelling on this at the moment is because, again, with all of the upheaval and the sequencing that we had to do to record this, it's a headline that did not get included in Mike's report, and it's only because of timing. So he missed this, and you'll hear that he doesn't mention anything about this, but my guess is by the next Fastener News Report, he'll have something to add to this.
And by the way, I would hate to be a New York Jets supporter.
Oh, that's got to be the worst. Imagine falling to the lowly Browns. I can only imagine the free Bud Light was flowing in the streets of downtown Cleveland.
Right. Yeah, they didn't need a hurricane to flood the streets. It was booze.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, Cleveland Browns fans. Mike McNulty being one of them. And speaking of Mike, here he is with news about screws you can use. It's the Fastener News Report.
Thanks, Brian and Eric. This is Mike McNulty from Fastener Technology International Magazine, bringing you the Fastener News Report, which is sponsored by Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners. For the first time in over 20 months, the Cleveland Browns professional football team did not lose a regular season game, but they didn't win one either, notching a rare tie with the Steelers. So I am still focused on fasteners and ready to deliver today's Fastener News Report. In this episode, we're going to reveal the latest results of the Fastener Distributor Index, also known as the FDI. Also in today's broadcast, we have our top story on the global automotive fastener market and newsmaker headlines from DriveLock, Specialty Screw, All Pro Threaded Products, Atlas Bolt and Screw, EFC, the Norma Group, and the IFI. On the back page report, we're going to talk about the growth of North American fastener events. We'll get to all of that and the latest FDI results right after this.
Whether you need a small or large number of fasteners, there is no reason why you should have to sacrifice quality or service for that matter. Volt Industrial Plastics takes great care with each and every order to ensure you receive a quality fastener in a timely and affordable manner. Our state-of-the-art production equipment allows us to produce any quantity you request quickly and efficiently. And with same-day shipping on nearly 1 million in-stock fasteners, we carry an inventory so you don't have to. Visit us online at voltplastics.com to find out more about our quality American-made products. Volt Industrial Plastics, manufacturer of the finest plastic fasteners in the world.
BTM Manufacturing is a domestic ISO 9001 manufacturer of threaded fasteners and bent wire products. From anchor bolts to studs to U-bolts, BTM is committed to making your per print special with the highest quality standards while meeting your on-time delivery schedule. Since BTM began in 1961, this family-owned business has remained focused on providing exceptional service to their customers. Centrally located in Kansas City, Missouri, BTM recently expanded into a 100,000 square foot facility, which allows for the production and manufacture of many projects simultaneously, both large and small quantity. BTM's website at btm-mfg.com allows you to submit custom quotes quickly and easily, and once you do, a BTM team member will contact you as soon as possible to discuss your needs. Are you ready to get started? BTM is. Visit www.btm-mfg.com today.
I don't have time to look for the best price for a socket head cap screw zinc plated with a patch.
Solution Man can. Let me handle all of your secondary processes, and I'll even ship the finished product. One price, one purchase order, one invoice, and one shipment equals one solution. Visit the Solution Industries website for details at solutionind.com.
Solution Man, you're my primary source for secondary processes.
Good one.
Back to the Fastener News Report with Mike McNulty.
The seasonally adjusted FDI for August 2018 dipped to 62.5, down from its record-setting result of 69.2 in the previous month. Fastener Distributor Index data is collected and analyzed by the FCH Sourcing Network, the National Fastener Distributors Association, and Baird. The FDI seeks to identify demand, pricing, and outlook trends within the American fastener distribution industry. To get some insight on these results, we talked to RW Baird analyst David Manthey. Hi, Dave. Thanks for joining us on the Fastener News Report.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me, as always.
That's good to have you back. What can you tell us about the latest results?
Well, the August seasonally adjusted FDI, as you mentioned, 62.5, which is down slightly from over 69 last month, but still really very strong. Anything above 50 signals expansion. If you look year to date or trailing 12 months, the averages are about 61. So still a little bit better than that. To put the 62.5 in context, when you look at all of 2017, that reading is stronger than all but 2 months that we saw for the entire year. So I think it tells us that conditions remain strong. Those readings are consistent with the ISM PMI readings we've seen in the upper 50s to low 60s. Also, distributors like Fastenal, which has seen double-digit organic fastener daily sales growth for all but one of the last 15 months. I think we continue to see a very favorable backdrop for fasteners, with growth trends seemingly sustainable through 2018.
Yeah, so even though the number is down slightly, it's pretty much still a strong number.
Yeah, definitely in the rarefied air. And when we think about the forward-looking indicator to give us some indication of what the remainder of the year should look like, it's at the highest level we've seen this year since January at 63.4. And that implies a continuation of strong trends that will be reflected in future FDI readings. The gains within the forward-looking indicator were driven by moderate gains in all four factors that comprise the index, so I think that's encouraging. And bottom line here, with the FDI and the FLI readings remaining very strong, we think market conditions are likely to remain in growth mode here through the remainder of 2018.
Well, that's good news. And the forward-looking indicator actually increased after dipping a little bit last month. So people took a little bit of a breather, and now they're a little bullish again.
Yeah, feeling optimistic, and I think some of that, Mike, was reflected in the respondent comments as well, which were mostly optimistic. One of the respondents, I thought this was a great comment, saying that business just keeps coming nonstop every day, and that seems to be the feeling with these indexes in the 60s. Definitely very, very strong. And while the current business tone is strong, I think there is this undertone of fears around trade policy and some indications that maybe that rate of change, the pace of growth, might start to decelerate. Even though we would expect things to continue to grow, maybe a deceleration. And as one of the respondents put it, I can't imagine this trend continuing, but if it does, we clearly won't complain. So I think that underscores very strong conditions, with the feeling that maybe we're at a level that's peakish and might start to decelerate, even though still positive growth.
Mm-hmm. Jumping out of the comments for a second, I think it's a good time to bring up that the 6-month outlook is still pretty positive, with only 13% of the respondents expecting sales to be lower in the first quarter, near the end of the first quarter of 2019. So pretty good expectations from our survey people.
Yeah, definitely looking good, and that 6-month outlook component is one of the 4 components of the FLI, which has led to that strong result as well. So, yeah, definitely the current conditions remain very good. The near and slightly longer-term outlook also remain very optimistic.
Okay, so for people that are new to the podcast and aren't sure, what are the other 3 components in the FLI? You said the 6-month outlook is one. What are the other 3?
Right, so it's the 6-month outlook. We also include employment, the employment index, which is, we believe, a longer-term decision. So people don't just hire people and fire them next month. So we think that has an implication for a slightly longer-term outlook. And then we also layer in inventory levels, which, if they are seen as being low, that implies that they'll need to be built up in coming months, assuming that the business trends remain positive. So while in the FDI it might be the opposite impact of low inventories, the forward-looking indicator says that if distributors or their customers are seen as having inventories that are too lean, that's actually a positive for future growth.
Yeah, they're running out of stock.
Right.
You mentioned sales being, or hiring people as being something. One of the comments that jumped out to me is somebody said, quote, "We continue to struggle securing experienced outside sales personnel." So I would guess that means it's probably a good time to be a salesperson, that you can demand a better rate possibly.
Or a truck driver. The labor market. Right. Yeah, overall, the labor market is extremely tight right now. And I know we've talked in past podcasts about the input prices of steel and copper and oil and lumber and all these factors, but all of them have come off the peak slightly. But the one factor that remains up and tight is the labor market, and it's whether it's technical sales or functional distribution center employees or truck drivers, as I mentioned. With the unemployment rate right now running at 3.9% in August, it's pretty much near cyclical lows, and it's just tough to find good people.
Yeah, I saw a headline just today that this is the first time in I don't know how many years, a long time, that the unemployment rate was lower than the GDP. 4.2 in GDP versus 3.9 on unemployment. So that's definitely a good trend. You mentioned some people being concerned about trade issues and that. One of the last comment that I wanted to bring up was, I don't know if you guys track this or not, but some people were worried about government interference complaints, including Proposition 65 in California. Are you guys hearing anything about that, or is it just kind of a local issue or a Fastener issue?
Yeah, I haven't heard much about that specifically. I would say that the driving force right now within most industrial distribution industries are tariffs, and there's still a lot of confusion around them. But whether the tariffs have a direct impact, whether they all go through, whether they're completely eliminated at some point through a tweet, I think ultimately inflation is real, and it's coming from a lot of factors, and it would be either raw materials, it could be regulation, it could be tariffs, it could be labor employment constraints. I think all of these things are putting upward pressure on the price of either commodity products or finished goods. And for the most part, distributors have been passing those through with a bit of a lag. I think it's been so many years since we've seen real inflation that many of the distributors just they need to relearn how to increase prices to their customers, even though their customers know prices are generally going up.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. What are you hearing from public and private firms that you guys are covering?
Sure. Well, Fastenal last week reported their August daily sales growth, which was 13.7%. That was above our expectation, although the stock did trade lower on that news, which I think sort of speaks to this as good as it gets sort of theme that we're working with right now. Fastener growth on an organic basis was about 11%, and that's consistent with trends for some time here, double-digit growth in fasteners. I think higher prices are starting to add incrementally to that number as well, but we expect Fastenal to continue to report double-digit organic growth through the remainder of 2018. And then just more broadly, as it relates to Wall Street earnings reports, distributors and durable goods manufacturers, I think most industries remain very strong, with some discussion of what we're calling peak everything. And it's that theme of things are as good as they get. It's just a question of how long this can continue.
All right. And how about general economic data?
Across the broader U.S. economy, the U.S. continues to do really well despite weaker conditions elsewhere in the world. And the key negative seems to be that some of these readings are so strong that they may not be sustainable, such as the ISM PMI at 61.3 in August, which is above 50 for the 24th consecutive month. When you look at the last time the reading was this high, this is the highest reading since May of 2004. 1 year after May of 2004, the ISM was 50.8. So I think that speaks to the mean reversion that at some point will happen across both the ISM PMI and more likely the FDI and other indicators that are diffusion indexes, because they tend to mean revert to the 50 level over time. Construction spending has been strong in most recent readings, with single-family housing up mid-single digits, multifamily low single digits, public upper single digits, industrial production strong. Pretty much across the economy, Mike, most of the economic indicators you look at are reflecting a U.S. economy that remains very solid, resilient, and no real cracks in the system right now.
Well, that's good to hear. Unless we get a stock market implosion or something, a bubble burst. But
well, yeah, that seems to be the biggest risk, I think. Right. And from our standpoint, of course, we're focused on stocks and recommending stocks, which ones are going to go up and so forth. And as I mentioned earlier, the theme we've been working under is the fact that it may be as good as it gets right now, and because of the fact that stocks they tend to be forward-looking in terms of 6 to 12 months down the road. We've seen a little bit more choppy activity among the public distributors, and I think that might be starting to reflect that outlook, that it's as good as it gets today. And even if it's decent growth in the year to come, it may not be as good as what we've seen in the past year.
Yeah, like your Fastenal example, double-digit growth every month, and then their stock goes down a little bit. So go figure.
Exactly.
All right, so good. It looks, everything sounds good, and good job in pulling all the data together again. Do you have any closing comments you want to give to our listeners?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Just to reiterate, I would say that despite some of the factors out there that people are concerned about, like tariffs and full employment that we're seeing, a strong U.S. dollar, rising interest rates, and then some of the more dicey economic conditions abroad, the U.S. economy just continues to cruise here, with the key question just being, for how long can it remain this good? And I think that's the central question at this point. But from what we've seen in the FDI and the FLI this month, I would say at least for the fastener industry, it looks like the next 3 to 6 months should remain in growth mode.
That's good to hear. All right. Well, as always, thanks for joining us, and thanks for putting together the Fastener Distributor Index number and report that I know a lot of our listeners are relying on to help make business decisions.
My pleasure, Mike. Thank you.
That was Dave Manthey of Baird. The FDI number for August was 62.5 versus 69.2 in July. Visit FDIsurvey.com to participate in the process and get a detailed PDF copy of Baird's monthly analysis. Now for today's top story. According to Research and Markets, the global automotive fastener market was valued at slightly above $20 billion in 2017, and it should approach $29 billion by the year 2026, which corresponds to a 4.2 average annual growth rate. Major factors driving increases are rising global vehicle production and new developments in automotive fasteners. Even higher growth rates are being hindered by the rise of unibody vehicle frame designs, and the desire for weight reduction and increased fuel efficiency will temper the use of carbon and stainless steel fasteners in favor of alternative alloys and plastics. Asia Pacific is estimated to be the largest market for automotive fasteners due to the rise of vehicle manufacturing in China, Japan, and India, but the North American automotive fastener market will continue to maintain a considerable market share due to the presence of multiple OEMs and after-sales centers. Next up, today's Fastener Newsmaker headlines. In acquisition, expansion, and investment news, DriveLock has been acquired by the Mendota Group in partnership with two investment firms, Capital for Business and Kanza Valley Capital Incorporated. At the end of November, Brighton Best is opening a new 209,000 square foot distribution center in Cleveland, Ohio. All Pro Threaded Products Incorporated has received licensing to manufacture API 20E BSL1, BSL2, and BSL3 monogram bolts. Specialty Screw Corporation hosted a groundbreaking ceremony for a new 20,000 square foot addition to the company's current facility in Rockford, Illinois. And the Hillman Group has announced that it has entered into a definitive agreement to acquire Big Time Products. In personnel news, Ken Haney is the new Southeast sales manager at Atlas Bolt & Screw. Doncaster's Group has announced the appointment of Craig Smith as Divisional Managing Director, Superalloys, and Vice President, Supply Chain. Gunter Rutkowski, Vice President of International Sales at EFC International, has announced that Shanghai EFC Fasteners has added 7 team members. Sanchung Gu, Director of Sales. Tina Lee, Buyer. Dan Gong, Sales Engineer. Karina Liang, Logistics Coordinator, and Inside Sales Account Managers Sunny Lee, Gloria Shen, and Stephen Shen. In addition, EFC International Korea welcomes Sales Engineer Daniel Kim, and Alan Ibarra joins EFC Global in Mexico as Account Manager for Inside Sales. Norma Group has appointed Dr. Friedrich Klein as the company's new Chief Operating Officer. And finally, the Industrial Fasteners Institute, also known as the IFI, has appointed Dan Walker as the IFI's new Managing Director. You can get details on all of these stories and more in Fastener Technology International Magazine and the Fastener News Report newsletter available at fastenertech.com. Finally, let's turn to the back page to talk about growth of North American fastener events. Those of us that are involved in the North American fastener industry are starting to notice that the first half of 2019 is starting to fill up with more events than usual. It is often said that you can gauge the health of an industry by the number and frequency of industry gatherings, so this development should bode well for the North American fastener makers, distributors, and users. The early 2019 events that are on my radar include the 2019 NFDA NWFA PacWest Joint Meeting in California this March, the newly announced International Fastener Manufacturing Exposition, also known as IFME, in Atlanta this May, the second staging of Fastener Fair USA in May in Detroit, Michigan, the seventh staging of the biennial Fastener Tech event in Rosemont, Illinois in June, and the return to Mexico City for Fastener Fair Mexico, also in June. You can throw the Southeast and Southwest Fastener Association regional events into the mix in April, and for the internationally minded North Americans, Fastener Fair Stuttgart, the world's largest fastener show, is also scheduled for the spring of 2019. In other words, the North American fastener industry will certainly be hopping in the first 6 months of the next year. Now, some people, including me at times, are likely to become distressed over this flurry of activity, but I say enjoy the good times while they are here, pick your spots to attend, and get out of the office or factory to get a fresh perspective and sharpened focus on the great American fastener industry. This has been Mike McNulty of Fastener Technology International bringing you the Fastener News Report. Please send your news, pictures, comments, corrections, or complaints to me at mcnulty@fastenertech.com.
Don Shan may be an outsider at the moment, but you'll have a chance to get inside his mind as it relates to the fastener industry in just a minute. Stick around, it's Fully Threaded Radio.
Buckeye Fasteners and the Ohio Nut and Bolt Company have been servicing the fastener community since 1905. An employee-owned company for 33 years, we take great pride in the quality of products we sell, offering outstanding customer service from our very knowledgeable sales team members. Our standard product lines include graded weld screws, resistance weld fasteners, leg levelers, tube inserts, clevis pins, and various other fasteners. We have complete custom manufacturing capabilities in low carbon, medium carbon, and stainless steel materials, and our quality systems are registered to ISO standards. We also have an entire team of sourcing specialists able to locate those hard-to-find items with typically smaller minimums and shorter lead times than that of our competition. We offer same-day shipments from one of our warehouses, strategically located throughout the United States and Canada, enabling us to fulfill all your fastener needs in a very timely manner. To find out more about Buckeye Fasteners, please call us at 800-437-1689 or visit us on the web at buckeyefasteners.com. Buckeye Fasteners, product support from development to implementation.
Parker Fasteners is your premier cold heading manufacturer, forging the future with precision and quality as our top priority. When you think of domestically produced sockets and tamper-proof screws from alloy and stainless, including A286, think Parker Fasteners. Our lockout line of security fasteners feature high torque, oval center pin design, and unique lobes that provide one-of-a-kind security for your customers. Our in-house 3D printing capability makes the prototyping process fast and affordable, and we're ready to produce your large or small run orders with highly competitive pricing and unbeatable lead times. So, forge the future with Parker Fasteners. Visit Parker Fasteners online today at parkerfasteners.com.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for listening to the Fastener Training Minute, brought to you by the Fastener Training Institute and AIM Testing Laboratory. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to do a book recommendation, not a book review, just a recommendation. A very good friend of mine, Jim Law, here in El Cajon, California, from Ababa Bolt, gave me a book called The Perfectionists. It's written by Simon Winchester, a fairly famous writer who's got lots of interesting technical and historical books, mostly having to deal with technology. One of his most famous books is The Professor and the Madman. I haven't read that, but I just saw it in the list and knew it was famous. In any case, this book is about the development of technology from the beginning of, the mechanical age, if you will, or right before the Industrial Revolution. And I found it to be fascinating and worth recommending, and there's even a few things about fasteners in it, even though it's not a fastener book. So when we return, I'll tell you why I think you should read The Perfectionists by Simon Winchester.
Let's take a look at upcoming courses from the Fastener Training Institute, shall we? On October 16th, there's a fastener testing seminar that's happening in Rancho Cucamonga. This is a certified fastener specialist class. That's happening 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on October 16th. Then on October 19th, it's a webinar, The Use, Misuse, and Abuse of Torque Wrenches. Something we all want to avoid. Runs an hour and a half, including a Q&A session. Then on October 30th, this one's happening in concert with the Las Vegas Fastener Show. It's a fastener technology workshop happening from 8:30 to 4:30 p.m. Fast forwarding to December 3rd through the 7th in Cleveland, Ohio, Fastener Training Week takes place. This is another opportunity to earn your Certified Fastener Specialist accreditation, something everyone in this industry should be thinking about. Get details on these and all the other Fastener Training Institute courses at the website, fastenertraining.org. Now let's get back to Carmen with a Fastener Training Minute.
Well, welcome back, everybody. This is Carmen Vertullo with the Fastener Training Minute, and today I'm making a book recommendation. The book is called The Perfectionist. It's by Simon Winchester. It was given to me by a very good friend. And the book got my interest because it starts off talking about a topic which is very, very important to all of us who are involved with either manufacturing or inspecting fasteners, actually manufacturing or inspecting anything. The topic is knowing the difference between accuracy and precision. And I'm going to just give you a brief example of that, and it would look something like this. Let's say you are measuring a screw thread. And as you know, when we measure screw threads, the fundamental measurement that we take is pitch diameter. Whether it's internal or external, that pitch diameter is what we're measuring. And if we want to do a good job of that, we'll use an instrument called a tri-roll gauge. The tri-roll gauge consists of a set of rolls, and it can look at several threads at a time or just one thread at a time. And it's got a gauge attached to it. But one of the challenges of using the tri-roll gauge is knowing where zero is. And in order to have both accuracy and precision, we have to know where we're starting from. And as you know, thread tolerances are very tight. And so, for example, they're measured to 4 decimal places, or 1/10,000th of an inch is the accuracy that we want to measure that to, or the precision, I should say, is the better word. So if we have an instrument attached to our tri-roll gauge that can see 4 decimal places, that's very precise. But it's not very good if we don't know where we're starting from. So we need to have a 0 point to have accuracy. And with our tri-roll gauge, if you're familiar with that, the way we get our 0 is we put a master setting plug in there. That set plug is the exact size of whatever the pitch diameter that we're reading. So now we have accuracy because we know where 0 is, and we also have precision because we have an instrument that can read that measurement out to 4 decimal places. And another example of that might be, let's say you are a marksman and you're shooting bullets at a target, and your bullets are all landing in a very tight pattern, but they're nowhere near the bullseye. That means you have great precision. You can put those bullets on a pretty tight pattern, but until you get them on target on the bullseye, you don't really have accuracy. And you can have pretty good accuracy and a nice reasonable spread around your target without great precision. So that's the fundamental difference between accuracy and precision, is how tight the pattern is for precision and how close to the target it actually is for accuracy. So I hope you'll read The Perfectionist by Simon Winchester. It goes on to talk about how did we first figure out how to make things perfectly round, the cylinders for steam engines. How did we first figure out how to make things perfectly flat, machine tools, lathes, and milling machines. Talks about jet engines and how did we discover how to make turbine blades and the material processes and microprocessors and all those things that matter to us in modern technology. It's on Amazon. It's about $18. And read it, The Perfectionist. This has been Carmen Vertullo with your Fastener Training Minute. Thank you for listening.
This is Bill Johansson from Delta Secondary in Bensonville, Illinois, the fastener distributor source for all specials and secondary operations. And you are listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric back with you, Fully Threaded
Radio.
That's us. Well, Bri, this is one of those times in the fastener industry where you just never know. I mean, we're right in the middle of producing an episode, and we've got our theme pretty much lined up, and obviously everyone's attention is the tariff story. That's a big one, right?
Right.
We were talking to Dick Ripley, outsider. Brian and Eric losing a little business here, picking some up, but losing some, so we're kind of playing up the outsider role, and we're going to be talking to a guy here shortly, and I'll announce him in just a moment, but I just want to say it this way. Sometimes you say, geez, how tight is a guy in the industry, whether he's taking a hiatus or not? And in this case, well, the big story broke about the Stealthfast acquisition or the merger, however it's being spun. We don't know. The headline is just breaking right now. By the time you hear this, folks, you'll probably know a lot more than we're going to be able to share. But suddenly, Bri, you texted me. A lot of other people started texting. I got some Skypes, a couple emails here and there, and everybody's talking, right? Everybody wants to know what's going on. Well, here's what I know. I got a text from somebody saying, can you confirm or deny what I just heard? Because Don Shan is not around anymore, and he's the only guy that I know that would normally know information like this. Well, Don Shan's with us right now. You haven't been on for a while, buddy, and I guess you're right now, I'm one of the proverbial outsiders, but right now you're an insider, and thanks for joining us here on Fully Threaded Radio.
I don't know that outsider makes me feel old or not, but I guess it does. Good to see that you and Brian are still plugging along.
Well,
it's
we do,
amazing
okay.
that I still struggle with the concept of how you wake up one day and say, hey, let's have a radio show about bolts and nuts. Kind of a little on the strange side.
Yeah.
But yes, unbelievable news, very big news. It will shake up the industry a little bit. It's a tough move in my mind, logistically, how they're going to pull that off. And in the next breath, I think in terms of it's a holding company. Are we looking to increase sales, to just, cut some of the fat and resell? Or are we really trying to logistically make that company flow? Stealthfast was pretty good at getting material to customers, and it should be quite a challenge for them to tool that all together.
Well, I tell you, Don, we definitely want to get your survey of the fastener scape from your perch for the moment outside the industry, and you're a guy who certainly will be able to ask those kinds of questions and have a little bit of insight. But before we get into all that, to answer your question, it says right on the liner, how did we get into this racket? Lack of more lucrative alternatives.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Just in case you're wondering, yeah.
You got the professional fisherman trophy, so I guess you didn't have a banner year and you had to run to the radio.
Yeah, well, that's a pipe dream for me right there. I tell you that. You got me pegged on that one, Don. What have you been doing with yourself? I don't know if you've been sitting on the sidelines, but you haven't been front and center in the fastener industry for a little while. I'm sure we'll kind of get it out of the way at the top of the conversation here. I'm sure you heard the conversation that we had on a previous episode with John Riddell, and he put his version of the way things shook out. We got that kind of taken care of. I think you can comment on that or not, but you've been basically working or operating outside the industry. We want to catch up with you, and then we can certainly dive into some of the top headlines in the way you see it. What's going on, Don?
Okay, I've been quiet the whole time. I haven't really. The hardest part for me in the building of solution was the being out of it now, and you create an identity over a time frame where that's all you did was work, think, and figure out how to grow. And I think we did a fine job of doing that. His concept of changing philosophies and moving elsewhere when you're up 18 points was a little hard for me to understand, but I accept it, and it's time for me to create some more new challenges and move forward. So doing that with trying to find something or a spot that other opportunities approach, but I don't think there's anything that really can grab my passion. And if I can't be totally into it, passionately into it, it's not going to be good for either company. So I consider myself a builder, motivator, outside of the box kind of thinker, and I do know that if you do not have the base blocks of a company, which would include heavy end customer service and communication within the company, if you lose any of them or sights of any of them, then it's doomed for failure. And if you look at any of the good companies, the bigger and better companies, they are excellent at customer service. They're excellent at customer communication, and they have a focus on where they're headed and what they want to do. And I think we were starting to get that developed where we were, and I hope that maintains. Right now, from the outside looking in, if you're not making money today, in today's world, in the bolt nut industry, I don't think you're going to make it, because everybody seems to be way up. And the people I've talked to, and you spend my entire life in this industry, you create friendships, and in talking to the people that I know in the industry, they're all up and they're all doing very well, and I hope everybody positions themselves for a downturn a little bit. And the Lindstrom thing just really floored me a little bit, because I think they needed to really get themselves set before they moved forward. That's what made me think that, maybe it was an acquisition to try to just increase the value and dump it to somebody else. That's just the beginning of what may be future problems with the tariffs, if you want to run right into the tariffs. And I don't know the just of the most of it, but from what I hear, it's a 10-point tariff on even existing inventory that you have produced out of China. Is that the way you see it?
Well, I've actually heard different versions on that. It seems like that part is a little ambiguous, at least in my own mind. I'm sure somebody can clarify that. But let's be clear, we don't actually know. We're not saying what is the nature of the Lindstrom Stelfast deal. We have a sense that the equity group that controls Lindstrom has acquired Stelfast, and we don't know what format they're going to have going forward, right? So we're putting that on the record. There's a lot of speculation. Again, this is just hours old as we're recording this, right, Don?
Correct. You're right. We don't know which way they're headed.
Midnight last night.
What were you doing up that late, Bri?
I wasn't.
Don, you've obviously got super deep roots in the industry. By the way, how many years you been in it?
Since 1977. Wow. I can't add that much. Stay away. I know I'm not 70 yet, Brian.
God, you're just as well for you. You'll be looking old and decrepit like me.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's why I'm an outsider, I guess.
Stepped out momentarily, okay?
Well, at least you're not going to have to start dyeing your hair light blonde like Brian does, Don, so you don't have that to worry about.
Yeah, and you have the danger of overdoing it and making it white, okay?
Well, but drawing on those many years of experience, I mean, the industry, so you're looking at what's going on here, both with the tariffs and with the deals like what just happened here. I mean, this is reminiscent of a few years ago, right? A big announcement like this just ahead of the Vegas show, so we all have something to gossip about, basically.
Pretty much.
We'll have a month's time to absorb it and to get details and so forth beforehand, but that's just the nature of the industry. So we've been blessed with that to talk about here at this exact moment. But please, your further insights into this or speculations. I mean, from the standpoint of the supply of the overall market. I mean, based on what you've been watching. I mean, what's the impact of this possible to be?
The bigger players the bigger distributors that have contractual agreements with end users will definitely have to address that issue almost out of the gate. I think some of them have some kind of arrangement where they can get price increases based on costs. Others don't. And there's just going to be some pushbacks to the large, the Bright and Best of the world with price. They're going to have to raise prices, obviously, we know that. The other option here, or the other thing, is capacity. And if they take some of that China business to Taiwan, and, are we in a position in Taiwan that they can handle additional capacity? And I don't think that we are. So, in the grand, I'm not that smart, but common sense tells me that these guys are going to have to focus in on where their supply is, especially on the big players. And I'd like to be a mouse in the room in some of them and see how they would get them volume so that they don't lose any inventory control. That's going to be the toughest part.
Well, I'm sure phones are ringing off the hook across the industry right now, and I don't think that there's any reason that any company in particular should be in a panic right now because of this. But let's turn then to your initial reaction to the tariff. So we don't know if the impact is going to affect existing inventories or not really, but just the 10% itself, and I'm sure you got wind of the Chinese government extending almost immediately upon news of this, the, what was it, a 4% rebate to exporters to the U.S., and so What's your read on it?
And if that 10 points is true, that makes sense on why the announcement of the Lindstrom deal was not made until the tariffs were announced. So that kind of made sense to me. And then you have another up to 15 points coming at the end of the year. So you could potentially be looking at 25 points of product made out of China. Now, most of the stuff in my mind, this doesn't include nuts now. So that they're free of it. So that is a big concern. But in the machine screw, sheet metal screw world where most of that stuff comes out of China, it's a whole new ball game.
Yeah.
What's the thinking behind excluding nuts? Does anybody know?
Yeah. Who knows someone?
I'm not smart enough to even comment on that. I don't know.
One of the senators has got to have a friend who owns a nut manufacturing company or something, or maybe that would put tariffs. So I don't know. Or a friend who owns a company in China.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if you looked close enough, I'm sure you could make all kinds of conclusions, erroneous and otherwise, of course. But like I made a joke on Twitter the other day. I don't know how funny it was, but I was pointing out that live eels didn't get a pass. They're on the list.
Okay.
Oh. That's not going to affect me in the slightest, okay? I don't like live eels.
A lot of people scratching their heads on some of this stuff.
It'll be interesting to see what may happen, though, as it all falls out. But, every year there's always something like this. Every year there's a new challenge in our industry, and it's funny how you kind of make adjustments on the fly, and then you incorporate it in the day-to-day work, and you work the next day trying to recapture more business. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. Also, I want to go back to a comment you made a little earlier, Don, and that was we see a little bit, which is that, when at the moment everyone's in good times, and so, no one's really thinking of what happens when the business climate gets a little tougher, which people say maybe around the end of the year and early into next year. And
yeah, I think people get lazy.
Yeah. I mean, we see this.
The good guys are going to plan, and they're gonna do some things that are really good. So, for example, the Lindstrom pick, that's why I was a little curious as to, I think I would get in order before I would add. And if you look at anything, if I had a company and you would add a specific product line, your base needs to be solid, because some of the product lines that we ever did, some of them bombed out. Some of them worked, some of them bombed out. You don't know. And it's difficult. You see a lot of different people going in a lot of different directions, and but their base is really solid. That's an example. Their solution or their fastener base is solid. Now they're adding all the other stuff that can make them additional profit lines, more benefits to tools and gloves and all the other things that they're doing now.
You said Brighton, right, Don?
Yes.
Okay, you dropped out a little bit there.
Yeah, I did say Brighton, and the things that they add, the way they're adding, they're adding it without adding people and adding products that might help them when they still have that base. I agree with that dog too.
Jack the Fastener Dog making another one of his many cameos on the podcast, everyone.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, speaking of product lines that kind of fizzle out then, Don, I mean, you have some experience with that. You got a lot of successes, but as you said, some fizzled out. I mean, what was your feel for what Lindstrom was doing? I mean, they had announcements of lots of expansion right around the time of the big shakeup about 9 months back. I mean, what was going on there, do you think?
I don't know, they had their hands in a lot of different product lines that I don't think that, their base was metric. And they added all that package line, and then they went to secondary process stuff that made it such that I don't think that they were really effective in customer relation and customer service, and that is what hurt them. They closed that one branch, and they had logistic problems in moving inventory, and then it was just a mess. And I think they were the last management team. They were working through it, but it was a work in progress. It wasn't going to happen overnight. Now they're going to, I don't know how they are now. I would guess that they still have the same problem because they were going to fix it in a short time frame. And now they throw in Stuffast to it, and you almost have to ask the question: is it too many things in the air there? And do they have enough base to do it? And again, in my mind, this is a customer service oriented business. If you can't provide product in a timely manner, all of it goes to shame. Doesn't matter.
Right. Well, we have heard things about what might be a new management strategy with the unified companies, although we can't confirm any of that. We can only speculate, but we will see in time. And it's true that all these companies, whoever has challenges, not talking Lindstrom or Stuffast specifically, but any company that's trying to do a turnaround, it does take time. If you've got a strategy, you've got to have time to implement it.
And there's no question about that. But in the same breath, you should have your points set to these are our 8 items, and this is what we need to be really good at before we add the flash and flare to it. Brian's point when he mentioned, business is really good, they get a little lazy instead of really focusing on being detail oriented, so that when it flips a little bit lower, that you're still efficient. And sometimes it's in its human nature, it's easy to do, not to stay focused. That's why in our world, it's, the talent wins, customer service and communication wins, and passion wins. And if you can have them 3 together, and then it's hard to find in people. It's either you have it or you don't. You have the it or you don't have the it.
Okay, you got that, folks? That's the Don Shan Cookbook for Success. While you're sitting on the sideline here, which I'm sure is only a temporary thing, maybe you should do a business success cookbook.
There you go. We're going to have to borrow Jack the dog.
Jack the dog's temporarily quietened, okay?
Never for long, unfortunately.
This is true.
Well, what other observations have you made about the industry during your time off? I'm sure you've had a lot of time to contemplate. Is there anything that comes to mind that you think about quite a bit? Anything that you want to tackle still, or when you get back in?
I don't know that there's any one thing necessarily that lends itself to, oh my God, an oh wow kind of thing. There are issues within the industry that are opportunities that you might look at. We have talked a little bit about the excess inventory issues that are prevalent throughout the industry. Everybody has them, and some have a lot more than others. And maybe that's an area to try to count. Everybody's tried to put their hand in it a little bit, but that is one area. And then the switch into how any of this tariff and inventory shortages may work itself into domestic manufacturing locally. And there are a lot of people that can do a lot of different things, but there are very few good ones. And I still think that there's a little avenue of creating some value with helping VMI type distributors. And you're talking to big guys that have VMI contracts. Them are the guys that need the help because there's just not enough experience. So I don't know where that lends itself to, but I on the outside looking in, you're always looking at areas that might have some value and where you can add some productivity to whoever it might be. For me, it's kind of a little bit more difficult because starting over is hard because it takes a lot of hard work to put together people, teams, and finding areas that finding people, just that alone is difficult to do in today's world.
Yeah, probably in any world, probably any time, really. Because you have to find people who are slightly motivated, and when industry is going good, no one's really motivated. You can make money just by waking up in the morning. I mean, it's a little different when times get tough.
Yep. So you fight through it, and you hope that people can see some passion in what you may try to do. And again, I'll find something will land where I could use my talents and value added and be passionate enough to maybe make a difference to a team of people, and that's the goal.
I would think there's plenty of teams that would need that.
Yeah, I would think you're right. Starting with the government.
No.
You going to start looking at elective office, Don? Is this kind of an early announcement?
Yeah, no thanks.
Hey, you should go over to the IFI. Maybe you could investigate getting a lobbyist position for the fastener industry, because it seems like they could use some help in that department.
Yeah, you would think that they probably could, yeah.
It does.
You ever have any experience with any of that? I mean, does anybody ever, you were a business owner in this industry, do you ever get polled for your thoughts and by any of these lobbyists that so-called represent the fastener industry?
We never did. I mean, when we flew a little bit under the radar there, I think most of them polling went to them big players. I'm sure they're all over it. They should be. But yeah, we were never big enough to throw our 2 cents worth in.
Well, maybe the answer to that question or that riddle is manufacturing's got more dollars to throw around than distribution, and the manufacturers saw it as favorable to have the tariffs. What do you think of that?
I think that's very true. I think they raised their prices just on the fear, whether they needed to or not. It was a good way for them to raise it even before the tariffs were announced. And I see some things now that some of these distributors that are bringing stuff in from China are already coming out saying they're not going to raise their prices. And that might be the case in point, but I don't know how they'll be able to maintain that come the first of the year. So they'll have to do something. And then you really have concern on inventory levels and how that's going to affect, supply and demand. Are we going to be able to have enough material to fill the pipeline for some of these large distributors take a lot of product fast? So people will probably protect their inventory a little bit, and they'll have to retool and move some things around, whether it be Taiwan or wherever else they're going to have product made. People are still going to bring stuff in from China. Let's not get crazy, because they'll just pay the tariffs. They'll have to.
Yeah.
Common sense says they're going to have to.
Right. What is their option?
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to sell you that. Okay, I will, but it's going to cost you this.
Yeah. So that's the way that will work. So there'll be a lot of jockeying along the way. These big guys have a lot of clout. There are a lot of money being spent with some of them large players. Here I was on the fringe of, I can't find it. Help me. That was the gist of almost all of it. We were able to find product. So now, after it's all said and done, there'll be much more of that going on. But now it'd be a little bit different because people will shop in price, and it won't be supply demand. It'd be, I can't pay that much. Yeah, well, guess what? If you want it, you're going to have to pay it. The old school, some of the stuff that Lindstrom and them did, I don't know that they were able to turn down business even if it was at a low margin. And then some of the things they might have done might have cost them too much money logistically and support-wise to make it really work. And that's what got them in that crackpot. Now it could be really interesting. It'd be fun to watch how it develops, and I hope they work it out well. I mean, it's still a big company.
We'll wait and see till the announcement comes out, and then we'll know what really there's the plan for.
Yeah, it's still so early. We haven't had an official announcement, but again, by the time this publishes, it'll be known by everybody, so a little anticlimactic.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think you're right, Don. Some of these price increases that some guys have been holding back, the dam has got to give now, right? And in addition to that, what we haven't mentioned is that the overseas freight charges have been really skyrocketing too. I've been reading the Scanwell logistics newsletters, and it's like every issue that comes out there announcing these pretty significant increases in cargo costs. So this cumulative effect has got to be passed along.
Yeah, you're right. And that makes a whirlwind of challenges for the VMI distributor that has contractual business. And hopefully they have some clauses in there that will help them, but I know they all don't. And they have to pass that on. The margins are not high enough for them to eat that. They're going to have to go back and get increases. And I'm not going to say it's an easy sell, but it surely is warranted. I mean, it's all black and white. You walk in with paper. I'm not raising my price because I think I want to raise my price.
Yeah, it's because it's actually costing you more than. Yeah.
Yeah, you wish it was that easy, but at least you can go in and look, there are fair people in the industry that understand what's going on, and I would hope that the majority of them, at least the big players, know what's going on. Sure, they do, but there are also bullies in this industry that you think that they're outside of the box, and I don't have to pay. It just needs to be. You put it all in a pot, and it's what we got in this industry. That's what makes it fun in my mind. You've got your most annoying list of customers, and you got your good guys. Yeah. Of course, I'm not going to put my list out there.
And we aren't either.
Yeah.
That's funny. All our customers are.
Money.
Yeah, it's funny. All our customers are in the really good guy column.
Yeah, you're right. Unless you don't have them as a customer anymore. It's funny how they jump columns. And it's all the same way. The model hasn't changed. It's distribution. And everybody does the same thing, only with a different twist to it. The guys that are best at it are the guys that are proficient and work it. The other guys are just, you're in it day by day. And the frustrating part about it, can you imagine going to work and having to deal with the frustrations of not being able to service customers because of our own inept ability to manage?
Oh, Don,
wow.
It's a reality. I mean, we know guys who had to leave some companies, and they'd been there for a long time. They have kids in college. They had to leave because every day it was like they wanted to commit suicide, because it was so depressing. And, that's no way to operate. I agree.
Yeah. It's no way to live, no way to operate, but you know how life is. You get stuck in areas where some things you have to do, and it's unfortunate that you get into them. We've all been in them. But you hope to work for a company that look, here's another thing. If you want to just throw the gamut out another way, how is Amazon going to change this? I mean, logistically, they could service better than anybody in the country. If they decide to get in, how would that change the world?
Right. Well, that's the thing that most people, fortunately, they sleep at night by not thinking about that. But it's true that there's many parts of this industry that would benefit from a shake-up. And the realization that, hey, you got to be a bit careful. You just can't think that Amazon is not going to be a major player. Jeff Bezos wants to be up there with the biggest company in the world, okay?
They don't. They have the distribution network that surpasses everybody. If they want to get into this industry, they have to make a really big splash to get in. It's hard to get in this industry. You could do it like a McMaster car kind of company. You go to their website and buy a box of this or a box of that, but they're not going to commercially sell you, 200,000 quarter-inch nuts anytime soon.
No,
they could do that, but I don't think they're in that area yet.
Oh, you can bet they're thinking of that, though.
Well, what do you think is the biggest obstacle to that, Don?
I think they have to. First off, they would have to make the commitment. They have the pocket.
Yeah.
They would have to make the commitment to get the talent to be able to do it. Somebody that really knows the industry, that knows where to put inventory, where not to put inventory. Where, some things move in the South, product-wise, a lot better than they do up north. I mean, you're not going to sell a big bolt in New England. It just doesn't work. So a lot of them scenarios, they would have to get them type of guys. They're already in the industry, but I think they're playing on the small end and not on the VMI support end. And logistically, you would think that the VMI support area for them is a perfect fit, considering all the mega places that they have across the country. They're building one here locally. It's huge. So thinking of that in the way that they get their products to market now, and just the many SKUs that they have, if they wanted to change the face, they would change the face. And look at the big players, they know that. They know that Amazon's lurking right there.
Some of the big players don't recognize that.
Well, and then there's others that...
if they do, it's a shame.
Well,
so then it lends me to think, okay, look at Lindstrom now. They're owned by a holding company. They pick up Stelfast. Is that model going to be really kind of obsolete, or is it going to change a little bit? I mean, where are they going to be in 5 or 10 years? Are they going to be adding another piece of the puzzle, or are they going to just sell off to somebody?
Well, that's a persistent question, isn't it? It's not irrelevant, but it's persistent. I mean, I remember Heads and Threads goes away. We all ask the question, how long can the model last? Porteous goes away. We all ask, how long can the model last? Now, this is really another form of consolidation, isn't it? Because we have 2 of the majors that are under one ownership, right? One owner.
Exactly. So if you go back, let's go back 20 years when you had Heads, you had Reynolds, you had them are the big players. Every distributor, they didn't buy anything direct offshore. They went direct to these guys. You bought the kegs and all off of them. And now they realize, let's get rid of the middleman. Let's go direct. How many of these big players take their large volume items offshore? All of them do. They all do. So if you look at, Worth or Annixter, them guys are importing a ton. All that business used to be, big box store, Heads and Threads type of business, because no one did it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That totally changed the model. So instead of these big guys, they understand that Joe Blow buys, 30 million quarter-inch nuts. They're not going to see that business. They know that. It's going to go direct, and it's going to continue to go direct. And the more they continue to do that, the more that they will try to chop that margin down or increase that margin as much as they can. So the Bright and Best model, or them guys, understand that they're not going to get that far. They have to revamp and look at the medium-sized distributor so that they're able to support them types of customers in the SKUs that work for them, and not the big high-volume ones that are going to go away. So it's weird how it's changed, but it has. So the next move from it will be really even more interesting. So what happens from here? So, I always try to think 5-10 years from now, where is it going to go? What's it going to do? And how much inventory will I need? Everybody does. Most distributors now, they don't want to carry inventory at all. They want, when I call you, I want it on my door tomorrow. And, that's where we tried to make a living on, helping the VMI guy. Give me your usages. I'll get it on your door tomorrow. I'll carry the inventory for you. Look at Amazon. If they're big enough, they could do it if they wanted to all the time.
Right, but they're missing something. What they're missing is the technical knowledge related to these various products. I mean, to compete with Solution, just say, in this VMI area you were talking about, okay? They've got to have salespeople within Amazon who can call up the customer and say, oh yeah, we can produce that and da. This is not going to be bought on the web. It requires people, and that's the big difference and the problem that Amazon has to decide how to solve. Okay, I mean, they're not going to break into the big time fastener market until they have equivalents.
You're absolutely right. You'd have to get to the talent and the people that understand product and prints and that such that man. But let's just for the sake of conversation, what if they bought a Fastenal? They'd have the money to do it. They'd be instantly in the game. That would change everything.
Yeah, you didn't have a chance to listen to the conversation we had at the top of the show with Dick Ripley, but we touched briefly on the same idea of the Amazon effect, and he came to the same conclusion. He said if they want to get in, then they're going to buy a company. His ideas were companies like McMaster or like Grainger. He never used Fastenal as an example, but I think you're dead on. I think you're dead on.
Yeah, so buy my book. It's only $29.95. You can get it from Amazon.
Well, Don, you are at the moment temporarily an outsider, but you're always an insider with Fully Threaded Radio, and we thank you for bestowing upon us your wisdom and your observations.
Yeah.
I always appreciate it. It's always nice to talk to you guys, and if you need anything from me or anybody who needs to get a hold of me, call Eric. He knows how to get a hold of me.
Are you, by any chance, have you decided yet? Are you going to make it out to Vegas this year for the show? Or?
I'm gonna be out there, and we'll have to see some old friends, maybe make some new ones, and I'll certainly stop by you guys. I'm sure
You will.
Around with a microphone.
No, just keep away from Lynn. She's the one who usually carries the microphone.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes Eric.
She is.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's too cute to avoid. You know that, Don.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
We've been talking with Don Shan. He is just one of those guys you got to know in the fastener industry. Yeah, get out there to Vegas. Talk to him out there, folks. Hey, it's Fully Threaded Radio. Unless we get acquired, we'll be back in just a minute.
Right.
Brian and Eric, Fully Threaded Radio. It's Fastener Dog Approved Talk Radio for the fastener industry.
When top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stellfast. Since 1976, Stellfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001-2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stellfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stellfast today through our website at www.stellfast.com and put us to work for you. Stellfast. Service you deserve, people you trust.
It's that time again. The largest event of the year in the fastener industry is almost here, the International Fastener Expo. The show will take place October 30th through November 1st at the Mandalay Bay Convention Center in Las Vegas. For new and returning attendees alike, we're excited to announce new additions to the show this year. These include a brand new preview day, daily meetings, free educational sessions, and the highly anticipated award ceremony recognizing leaders in the fastener industry. The legendary welcome reception is bigger than ever and being held this year at the Daylight Pool at the Mandalay Bay Resort. If you haven't yet attended the Fastener Show, this is the year to make the trip. It's an exciting time in the fastener industry, and this year's event will be the largest yet. You simply can't afford to miss this year's show. The expo features over 800 suppliers from across the country and worldwide. The International Fastener Expo takes place October 30th through November 1st in Las Vegas. For full details and to register, go to www.fastenershows.com. See you at the show.
BTM Manufacturing is a domestic ISO 9001 manufacturer of threaded fasteners and bent wire products. From anchor bolts to studs to U-bolts, BTM is committed to making your per print special with the highest quality standards while meeting your on-time delivery schedule. Since BTM began in 1961, this family-owned business has remained focused on providing exceptional service to their customers. Centrally located in Kansas City, Missouri, BTM recently expanded into a 100,000 square foot facility, which allows for the production and manufacture of many projects simultaneously, both large and small quantity. BTM's website at btm-mfg.com allows you to submit custom quotes quickly and easily, and once you do, a BTM team member will contact you as soon as possible to discuss your needs. Are you ready to get started? BTM is. Visit www.btm-mfg.com today.
My customer sent me a print for a bolt specifically for the machine in his shop, but we can't make it.
Solution Man can. Provide me with a print, and my superhuman CNC machining team will custom make it for you faster than a manufacturer's rep drinking at an open bar. Visit the Solution Industries website for details at solutionind.com.
Wow, that is fast.
So are you at the Distributive Social, huh?
Hi, this is Mark Klossick with Vertex Distribution. I'm here at the Fastener Show in Chicago, and I listen to Fully Threaded Radio.
Well, Brian, it was really cool having two guys on the podcast today, both of whom kind of share the same situation where they're momentarily out of the industry, and we had them here, and interestingly, both of them during their conversations, we touched on the Amazon effect and the tariffs, and I mean, is this an industry with some definite themes going on, or what?
Well, yeah, has been for some time, but people have been able to try and pretend it doesn't exist. It's there, though. Jeff Bezos needs money, okay?
Well, I guess that's one way of saying it. And it's good to know that we'll be seeing both Dick Ripley and Don Shan out there at the Vegas show. We thank them both for joining us on today's episode of Fully Threaded Radio.
Right. And you're never really an outsider. You're just temporarily in a different place.
That is true. I thought they'd get a kick out of that, though. And given some of the things that have happened to us lately, I mean, you know, we're riding the edge too, Bri.
Okay.
Baird analyst Dave Manthey joined Mike McNulty on the Fastener News Report today. Thank you, gentlemen. You did a great job, as always. And Carmen Vertullo presented the Fastener Training Minute. The title sponsor of Fully Threaded Radio is Stealthfast. For service you deserve and people you trust, it's still Stealthfast.
Yes.
Fully Threaded Radio is also sponsored by Buckeye Fasteners, BTM Manufacturing, Fastener Technology International, the International Fastener Expo. See you out there in a few weeks, folks. InSequel Software, ND Industries, Parker Fasteners, The Worth Group, Volt Industrial Plastics, and Solution Industries, home of Solution Man. We sure do appreciate you listening in, everybody, and we'd love to hear what you say, both in the upcoming Vegas show and anytime, at the email address ftr@fullythreaded.com, and in a usually less formal way out there on Twitter. Handles Fully Threaded. Well, we teased it at the top of the podcast, Bri. Now the time's come. We're going to ride this one out with a piece of handiwork from the home recording studio of Dick Ripley.
Actually, it's an interesting thing that shows us a lot of really creative people in this industry, way outside the ordinary expertise in selling nuts and bolts.
Yes, musically inclined and otherwise. That is true. It's a diverse industry with a wide range of talented people in it. We're glad to be part of it. So the title of this thing, who knows, maybe it'll become an anthem of the fastener industry someday. He calls it Gun and Knife.
Whoa.
We're going
Where did Dick get that from?
Draw your own conclusions while we spin this one up and we ride it out. For Brian Musker, this is Eric Dudas. Get out there, sell some screws.
And stop by our booth and say hi, okay?
That's right. And we'll talk to you there, and we'll talk to you next time.
Till next time, folks.
Well, it's times like these makes you sure you're alive. Way too much blood on the street. It's a bitch just to try and survive. Can't count on nobody's help. You got to rely on yourself. Got to fight back or get ready to die. Cities on fire against a never-ending night. Hard to decide who's wrong or who's right when you live by the gun in the night. Got to kill all the people that just don't look like you. Don't got enough on the ball to discern what you know is the truth. Got to take back what you own, planting the seeds that you sown. Be a bright new world when they all live and think like you. Cities on fire against a never-ending night. Hard to decide who's wrong or who's right when you live by the gun in the night.
Fully Threaded Radio is a production of Fastener's Clearinghouse.